What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the locker room. I am your host and your favorite Kansas City girl, Kennedy Bright. And as always, what's in the locker room stays in the locker room. Get your playbooks ready, guys. What is good, rookies? Welcome back to season 3 of the locker room. I'm so excited to have you guys back. I'm excited to start season 3. I know you guys are like, season 3? Girl, we are 6 months into the year. I know. We are deep into the year. And that's what we're going to get into today. And in true locker room fashion, the reason I started this whole podcast was being able to be vulnerable in a place that is safe. And so I want to talk to you guys about a lot that's been going on with my life, which is the reason that I have not been putting out content on any of my platforms, why you haven't gotten a podcast, and and just where I've been mentally, like just really wanting to be honest with you guys. So I want to do it kind of a fashion of like starting off, not necessarily with the bad, but basically with the bad, and then going into the things that have been, good in my life that have also happened in the past 6 months. We got to start with the bad because you guys deserve to know where I've been. You guys deserve to know where my headspace has been, because I can't expect you to support me and tell other people to listen to my podcast or follow me on any of my platforms if I'm not consistent. And I want you guys to know that it has nothing to do with me not wanting to be consistent, but to know like where I was at. And I got to move forward for the next 6 months of this year, because this is part of wanting to change my circumstances. I can't bitch about them all the time and do nothing about them. So we're getting back in the groove of things, and I'm going to force myself to get into the groove. Routine is something that is really hard to have with this job for sure. So in the last episode that I posted of last year, you guys knew that I recently became a flight attendant and I was now living in Chicago. I had been in Chicago for about a few days. I'm pretty sure in that episode I would have let you guys know that I already had my luggage lost and I had been in a car accident. So I was like, already over Chicago, get me back to Dallas ASAP. I finally did get my transfer. It came through in April. So I was living in Chicago for 4 months, and it was beyond an adjustment. It was hard because me and some of my other classmates, we couldn't find a place to live. I originally was like, okay, I was going to stay in Chicago for my work probation, which was 6 months. I would stay there and get the hang of things, and then, put my transfer into Dallas, but maybe God sent me there for a reason, which I did eventually think I did figure it out. But that was the plan. But I couldn't find a place to stay. So at one point I did this thing called a crash pad. So in I think travel nurses do it too, but I know for sure flight attendants, obviously, and pilots, if you ever fly, as in you work out of a state or a city that is not where you live, you can get this thing called a crash pad. You pay for a bed or a room a month and you stay there. So I found one. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath place. It was right at the airport. And it was literally 5 of us it could hold 6 people. And at that point, it was 5 of us, excuse me, that was there in the crash pad. And it was okay. It was good enough to stay there for one night and then go on a work trip and then hurry up and rush back to Kansas City. And that's what ended up happening the whole time. I literally would work in Chicago. On my off days, I'd go back to KC and then I'd have to go back the next day. It was very taxing. So if you can imagine, when you travel on your own, for your own trips and things like that, being on, flying and traveling is stressful. Well, I'm still doing the same thing. I may not necessarily go through the same security line as you, but I'm still doing the same thing. I'm also doing 3 flights a day on top of my commuter flight. So it's 4. So yeah, it was taxing. I also grew to be very depressed because we kept getting rejected from places to stay. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And it got to a point after my crash pad went crazy. It got to a point where I ended up having to actually live in the airport. Living in Chicago, O'Hare's airport. And that was a huge adjustment. It was something that I really wasn't comfortable with. And I don't know if I've talked about it on here or anything yet, but there was a time last year that I was living in my car. And so it was very triggering, because the difference was some things were going on when I was here and I was dealing with a lot, but it was I'm working and I have a career and I still can't get a place to live. It was hard. And one thing I'll say before I start off with anything with this whole flight attendant life and how things have been going the past 6 months, I really saw becoming a flight attendant as a way of getting my life some sense of stability financially and living wise and giving myself structure. Because I was working for a big company, I'm, having this thing that they classify as a career. And everyone knows, there's a difference between a career and a job. People, your parents probably say that to you all the time. So I'm bet, this is what's happening. I'm getting my life on track. I've had a lot of things I've gone on, when I was in college and trying to just every time it was always roadblocks with things in my life when I'm trying to get myself together. And I felt like this was finally the steps that it was taking just to really, it was not it at all. So that was more of what I was dealing with. And during my interview, I talked with them about, okay, the living situation and the pay and the income, and it was nothing of what was discussed. So I dealt with a lot of like feeling like betrayed a lot, if I'm being honest, when I was dealing with this. So it was really rough. um as I just said, it was literally it was my first trip. I was the number one. It was a 4-day trip. And I literally was calling my parents. What city was I in? I was in Burbank, so like California, like LA area. And I told them, I said, yeah, I gotta quit. They're like, what? Your first trip? I mean, it was like right at the beginning of January. I said, I have to quit. I told my parents, and I was talking to my grandparents and some of my friends. I was like, if I can't get a place to live, if I can not afford food, like I have to get another job, because this whole point of me working, it was not about the luxury life of flying as a flight attendant and going on vacation and flight benefits for me. It was about stability. It was about, I'm 25 at the time. I was 25. I'm 25. I'm stable. I'm taking care of myself. I got my car. Like, I'm getting my life together. And this was not getting my life together. Living in crash pads and living in airports, like that just wasn't it. And I was really frustrated because I felt like no one was understanding like what I was going through. I got gaslit a lot, if I'm being honest, with trying to like talk to people and like confide in them about like how I felt. And it was just always like I was the only one, like it was just in my head, right? So that became difficult for me. But like I said, that was literally the first trip out of the gate, and I already knew like I gotta go. This isn't gonna work. But I kept at it. I still worked there, but I kept at it, kept working. But my mental health just really went down. I worked my butt off. I was in the interview process for so long with this job. Like I really wanted to be stable, and I felt like I was still getting my footing. And I felt like if it was almost the same thing of like, when you start out after you graduate college and you're new, at a job and you're getting your life together, that's one thing. But I'm 25, about to be 26 in 2-3 months. I was like, this is not cutting it. So I was really depressed. I was really stressed. Chipotle became my comfort food. I'm addicted to it still to this day. But Chipotle became my comfort food. And the last thing I could ever think about was content, which was also hard. I originally thought the flight attendant life, as in like layovers and the days off that I have, I could use those times to create content and, and do my sports business. And also at the same time, be working on my real estate. So that's another source of income, but I had no time to do it. I would get in sometimes for most of my layovers at like, be land at 8-9 o'clock. By the time I get to my room, it's about 10 something. I'm wore out. I just work 3, sometimes 4 flights a day. I need to shower, DoorDash some food, and get up and go to bed, and have to be up the next day because I have to be up at like 5 a.m. The van comes to get you at 5. The van's coming at 4 something in the morning, sometimes 6, so it just cut in. It wasn't any time. So then I'm feeling bad because I'm not doing my passions, which is my content. So that's also like, I'm beating myself up about that as well. So I was very depressed for quite a few months, and feeling like I was failing at life, and really stressed out, like I'm living literally out of a suitcase. Like, cause I would go home, I'd wash my clothes, go to my nana's house, she'd wash my clothes, I'd get myself, I'd go. And then like my off days, like, okay, you could do it on the off days, but off days, I was so tired, I just wanted to sleep and try to, get myself together to get ready to go back to work. And so, to give you an idea of a flight attendant, like I'll just give you a week. So I could be on for like 4 days and then I'm off 2 or 3 days. And when I was in Chicago, you're getting worked those whole times. I was like the most junior my class was the most junior out of everyone. Out of all 25,000 flight attendants, we were the most junior. So you're going to get called first, which I loved because I was in Chicago. Work me. I do not want to be here in Chicago. Get me out of here. Not to mention it is January, February, and March in Chicago. And it's dark. Oh, in December. And it's dark. It's gloomy. It was so depressing. Like my mood would change when I would land in Kansas City. My mood would change once I was like descending. Look at me using flight to the words. Once I'm landing into Chicago, like it was the worst, y'all. Like it was very depressing. So I would not recommend it. People, do not visit. If you want to move to Chicago, don't visit it in the summer. Visit it in the winter. That's like when it really is going to tell you the truth. And I would meet people, and it was the first day. It was a thing called NDOC. First day in Chicago, we're meeting with the managers, and he had told us he's from Miami though, and so he's talking about like, oh, I miss one thing I do miss is seeing the sun every day. I just thought the man was referring to, because it's, it's Miami. I've never, been there. I'm like, oh, it's just like really sunny, whatever. No. He legit meant the actual sun. It was so dark. There wasn't even light. Like, it was daylight savings. On daylight savings, it gets dark early. No, it was dark the whole time I was there, dark and wet. So my mental was definitely not there at all. It was, oh my goodness, you guys. So I was kind of dealing with a lot. I ended up, it's now March, and it's time for me to get ready to move. I end up, moving to Dallas. And when I talk about my like praise report, I'll explain how like great it was. I got to move here in my apartment and everything. The hard part was my job didn't give me the days off I needed. So I was scheduled to work in Chicago on March 31st, but I was scheduled to work in Dallas April 1st. I said, how's that going to work? Like, I need to uproot and move my life. I had my car and everything, in Chicago, because like I said, I planned on living there. I'm like, how am I going to get everything here? And then you get in trouble if you're caught, so I'm just like, what is going on? And I don't know if God was like, here you go, like being funny or not, but it was the week of my birthday, and I went to go see someone, anyways, in Denver that week. And it was terrible. He was an ass. And there you go. But I mean, I knew him. That wasn't my first time seeing him. I knew him. But anyways, I went. It was a terrible experience. He was get on my nerves. Girl, I tried to go home. And I get back to Kansas City, and I'm not feeling well. I'm like, what is going on? Then I fly to Chicago. I'm like, oh, maybe I get really bad sinus headaches. I'm like, it's just a sinus headache and stuff. Next thing I know, it was funny. I get a 3-day trip. It's my birthday weekend. I'm like, send me somewhere good. Send me somewhere good. They send me to Kansas City on Friday to Saturday. And then Saturday night, I lay over in Phoenix. I'm like, oh, bet. Phoenix, that's nice. Never like been there before. Great birthday vibes, Y'all, I'm in Kansas City. We landed in KC like really early, like 12 o'clock at 1. I'm like dying. I'm dying. My dad had to bring me like medicine, bring me some food. I'm not feeling well. It's a lot going on. And I know it's the middle of the night, and I'm like dying. Like, I'm in pain. I'm calling my job. Like, I can't work. Now, the sad thing is, it was on my birthday. That morning, my parents are already on their way to the airport. My parents were flying to Chicago to go get my car to bring it back to Kansas City so my dad and I could drive it to Dallas. So I'm sitting here in my hotel room, dead as a doornail. I was hard. I couldn't walk. I can't even pack my stuff up. And my parents are gone. I'm at home. I'm in Kansas City, because that's where my layover was. I'm sitting in the hotel room like, what am I going to do? At this point, I'm like, I need to go to the ER. Like, I got to go to the emergency room. My Nana does not like driving, and she only drives to places she knows. So I'm like, who's going to come get me? I was like, I'm about to get an Uber. And the next thing I know, my mom's like, Nana said don't get an Uber. She's coming. I'm like, oh gosh. So now everybody's like, oh Jesus, Nana's coming to get Kennedy. Nana don't know where to go. So I have my mask on. I wear my mask all the time, but I have it on because I just because I was sick in general, and she helps with my great grandma and everything. So I get in the car. My Nana takes me to the ER. Like, okay, your flu test, is negative. I'm sitting here watching ET. They had ET on. I don't know why. And I'm like, okay, like, but you have COVID. I'm like, COVID on my birthday? The guy goes, sorry, happy birthday. I'm like, thanks. It was terrible. Y'all, it was terrible. I was out for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, I was in so much pain. And I just was lucky and blessed that I got COVID. Like I found out in Kansas City, because if I would have went ahead, at first I thought I could work the trip to Phoenix, because Phoenix is a base and they could just, put another flight in on it. But like, as time, like in the middle of the night, I was like, I can't, like, I'm dying. My body hurt. Like, it was very terrible. And I'm glad I didn't, because I would have got stuck in Phoenix, because, you can't fly when you're sick. And like, what am I going to get on a plane? Everybody's, with COVID, like, how was I going to get back to KC? Like, so it worked out perfectly, sadly, that's what happened. So I ended up having COVID for weeks. At March 24th was the last time I stepped foot in, that was the last time I stepped foot in Chicago's airport. So it's fine. So I'm dealing with that. Then it's time to move. And I get here to Dallas. And at first, when me and my dad like drove into Dallas, it was the vibe, of like what I felt before about the place. But it was a little hard because it was me and my dad. my mom, okay, if you've watched my move-in vlog on YouTube, then you already know my mom had ended up having to come because that was the whole thing. And my mom left first. My dad stayed an extra day. Then my dad left. And I instantly kind of got sad. Kind of, no, I was really sad. I was really depressed because when I lived in Dallas the whole time before, I never lived by myself. I was living with people. So I'm sitting here in this apartment that I'm grateful to have. I'm now by myself. And the last time I've lived by myself was in 2019 when I was in college and I had my apartment in Kansas City. But I was not literally fully by myself. I have my bunnies. I've had ESAs, emotional support animals, since 2018. Like that's when I've had them, like the bunnies. And they're not like, I tell people bunnies and they just think like, oh, like hamsters. Like, no, they were like dogs. Okay. They were dogs or cats, whichever you want to call them. They were like animals. So I've never lived actually by myself. And it's been since 2019. So I lived there. Yeah. So for about 3-4 years now, I haven't lived by myself either. And not only that, I'm living in a different area in Dallas than when I lived any of the times I've like lived here before. So I'm like in a new area. Everything around me is different, like my neighborhood. So nothing seems familiar. So I seem like I'm in like a foreign place, like all by myself. And I'm like, girl, the mental health is just like beating on your girl for real. Like she is beating me up. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, how's this going to go? And my dad's like, well, have you gone to see Kinsey and the dogs? Have you seen Lindsay? I have people here. I do. But the hard thing is two factors to it. One, as a flight attendant, I'm only off during the week. So everybody else is going to bed because they have work in the morning. Like, they're adults. All my friends are adults. They're not out partying at, in the middle of the week. So I'm like, well, no, they're all at work. For one, so, you can't really do anything. Or two, like, I don't have any money. Like, everybody wants to go out, wants to do this, do that. Like, I was like, what am I, going to do? So I'm then, trying to rally myself up and get myself to, utilize my apartment, create content and do what I need to do. But it sent me into like a different type of depression because now I'm like, I'm by myself. I'm by myself. I'm grateful for my place that I have, but I'm by myself. And it just felt different from when I was here before. And people will talk all the time about like, you need to know how to be alone. And I think that's important in a relationship aspect. Like you should learn to be okay being alone in a relationship for sure. But for everyone, it's not good to literally be alone in the aspect of friends or anything. And it talks about it in the Bible. Like that's why Genesis is probably one of my favorites because it talks a lot about when God created man and women and how he said it's not good for man to be alone. Like he talks a lot about that. And that's because it's not. And when you're alone, that's when the devil comes and talks to you. And he was talking to Kennedy a lot during my beginning phases of living here when I moved here in April by myself. And so on the podcast aspect of things for this whole time, from when I first started from January all the way to now here, at my apartment, I was not in a place to talk about anything, any topics. I had nothing. I couldn't even clear my mind enough to really give you guys input. I would think of like, oh, I could talk about this podcast topics. And I couldn't even muster up like some courage to really sit and think. Another huge factor is with the job, I was never able to make any of my doctor's appointments. I remember I've been having some issues. I have these tumors on my ovaries and I hadn't gotten looked at in some years and I was having some problems again. So like, you need to come into the doctor. Like you need to come, we need to look at them again. I remember I called my job, told them, I'm like, hey, like this is a very important, appointment. Like I told her specifically, I was like, I have these tumors. They have to get looked at. I need to go to my appointment. And she wouldn't give it to me off. She wouldn't let me move my off days. And I remember at that point, that was in January. And I was like, bro, this is not it for me. Because it's important for me to take care of my health. It's important. I couldn't make doctor's appointments because you only get your schedule the month before. So it was hard. I had missed several doctor's appointments. I got in June, which is probably why I'm here making a podcast now because my mental's getting together. But I'm missing appointments. I'm not able to get any of my medication. Couldn't make appointments with therapists. Like it was just like, oh my goodness. So this whole time, my mental health is off. I've been off my medications and medications as an antidepressant. I have an antidepressant and anxiety medication. And then I have Adderall for my ADD. And they all have to work together. They're best friends. Okay. And I don't have any of them. So, of course, I'm anxious and I'm depressed. And then I can't concentrate even if I want to be productive. And since I can't concentrate, now I'm anxious that I'm not getting nothing done. And then I'm becoming depressed. So, they're just all working together, tangling up. And I was like, I've got it, So I'm doing my best to try to make things happen. But mentally, I just haven't been there. So I couldn't concentrate on think of podcasts to really talk about it or get it together. Also, like when it comes to guests, it's hard because, like I said, the days, like it always would happen when I have guests, like their days that they'd be available, like it would work. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if, I'd be available to do it or not. So it was just, yeah, it was a lot. And it became also difficult because it was hard to have a routine. Like it kind of is no routine. One thing that one thing that I say I probably could control is my night routine. I could make a night routine for myself because that's the one thing I control whenever I go to bed. Rather I'm at home or I'm on a trip, but the mornings are just hard or the set days. And so, like, when it comes to my content, originally I used to have days like, okay, today's a research day to research whatever content I need to look up, or, get better at editing. I'm gonna look these things up. This is a editing day. Like I'm gonna edit the content. This day is a recording day. Well, I don't have that luxury of having that anymore because my off days, they vary. I could have 2 days a week, which I have a lot of 2 days lately, 2 days, or I could have three, or I could have four, So I don't have a lot of days to really do that. And the days that I work, that I'm on call, usually I'm getting called, or I can't start something and then also not finish it because then I get called to come to work, to go to work, So you're on call for 12 hours. It's like hard, to really have a balance. And something that has always been a thing, like that I've learned in therapy and things like that, is for your mental health, Kennedy, like you have to have a routine, you have to have a set schedule. That's something that I can't have. And I'm the kind of person, like, I like consistency. I'm the kind of person that I like consistency. I like my things to, if it's not going to stay the same, then sadly, I don't do it. That could be a bad thing too, but that's just how I am. So I haven't been able to give myself any stability. It's hard to even plan like eating dinner because I'm like, oh, I can meal prep, but I might be gone for a few days. And I don't know if it's going to be good when I get back, all that. So it's like, and a lot of areas is difficult. I would say I'm getting the hang of it, but I'm not. But I'm not. In a lot of instances, me and God, we've become really close. So that helps. So it's really hard to really do my content, execute it the way that it needs to be done. And I'll know I'll figure it out. I'll eventually get the hang of it and we'll understand how it works. But that's just how it's been going, honestly, on the aspect of like a negative side and kind of where I've been trying to not wear myself out and not overwork myself, because it's like my off days from working as a flight attendant are still work days. It's my content days. And so then I'm so tired and I'm doing my best that I can, but I know now, like, I just got to suck it up and figure it out and make it happen at this point, because my content, which we're about to get into, has been, opening some doors and opportunities, which has been good for me since this year has started, which is shocking because my content has not been there. I have not been putting out content, but yet people want to work with me. And I'm like, what, really? So we've gotten some things that make me feel like I'm on the right path, that I'm headed the right direction. So I just have to really buckle down and find a way to make it happen. So that is where I've been mentally in the most like vague-ish way. It wasn't really vague. I pretty much gave detail way of where I've been. I'm really gonna get into the dating life. The men have been crazy. They've been annoying. Y'all know how that goes. We're gonna do a whole separate episode on them. Whole extra one, because I'm over them. But now I want to get into where God's really been showing up for me this year. God always shows up. That is not what I'm saying that just now he is, but he's really showed up for me this year. And I've really started to see a lot of blessings and starting to see a lot of my connection with him growing. And two, also, especially like being alone. Like when I was in Chicago, I was alone. And that's another thing too that I will say. The job, I'm alone all of the time. That is something that is also really different. When I go to work, I fly with people and I'll never see them again. So that gets lonely. That was something that was hard for me. If I like you, it gets to a point where if I got everyone's number that I like that I worked with, like, girl, I'd have too many people, my contacts would be full. So you work with people and then they just get off the plane. They're, all right, bye. They're used to it. They don't, you don't actually make friends that way. Like they just, hi, nice working with you. Forgot your name already. They're gone. Layovers, I knew I'd be alone on layovers. I just knew that didn't bother me. But then I'm alone here because, like I said, I can't meet up with my friends. I can't do things with them. So then that's happening. And then I'm also, in my apartment alone. So it's like I'm constantly alone 24/7. I'm alone at work, I'm alone here. And I thought too, I would have more interaction with passengers, and I don't. Girl, they say pretzels or cookies, they want their ginger ale, light ice, full ice, whatever, water, no ice. They tell you what they want. They put their headphones back on. I thought I'd really have like conversations. I probably could count on my hand how many conversations I've actually had with passengers. So yeah, no. It's become a lonely lifestyle. I knew the job aspect, like literally on my layovers would be, but I did not imagine my life in full circle being lonely. So it's giving me time to really kind of try to talk to God. And that's what I want to use a lot of my time and utilize it to be. So now let's get into some blessings that have been going on in my life. I hope that summed up for you guys where I've been. Hopefully you understand. And I'm sorry, like I said, that I haven't been here for you guys, but I've been all over the place. I was living in 2 different places. A lot was going on. But I have no more excuses. I'm going to make it happen now. Okay, so now we are getting into the good things that have been going on in my life, the blessings. Now that we got all of that out the way and cleared the elephant in the room, honey. So in January, I got an email about doing a collaboration with Rihanna because, Rihanna was hosting the halftime show for the Super Bowl. And I'm like, is this real? The trip that I told you guys about, the one that I said I was going to quit, like I was ready to quit, it was that trip that I got the email. And I'm like, oh my God, what? So I get this email and I'm like overly excited. I'm like, what? Like, it was a big deal for me, like seeing a company as big as Rihanna's, as Savage Fenty, that wants to work with me. I'm like, wait, what? So I was super excited. Honestly, I thought it was fake, actually. I'm like, this isn't real. I hadn't put out sports content in a minute because of working. Because remember, I was in training for 6 weeks and I was working. So I'm like, oh my God. So I got that opportunity there. Next, I got a Super Bowl opportunity. And the terrible thing is, so since the Chiefs, my hometown, thank you, won the Super Bowl, Canes was doing an event where they were having Chiefs players work at Canes and fans could come and they were surprising a bunch of people. They wanted me to go there and cover that event. Well, guess what? I finally one day decided to check my DMs. I don't check my requested DMs, and I just went to check it. I got DMs from the company, DMs from people, and like, hey, did you get our email? We really want you to come out for this event. And I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm like, I didn't get no email. My email logged out. My business email logged out of my phone. So I did not get the email. And I missed that event. It was still made me feel good that like they considered me and were like hunting me down for it. But I was very devastated that I didn't get to do it. So that was an opportunity that I got also. That was in February. Then when I relogged into my email, I saw that the Kansas City Royals, which is, again, my hometown's Major League Baseball team, reached out, wanted to send me some stuff. They sent me a jersey, some like Kendra Scott. They sent me a few things, hats and stuff in this box that was like custom made with my name and stuff. And so at this point, I'm like, dang, this is like things are happening. And I felt like God really kind of was seeing what I was doing and kind of like letting me know like things are rough right now. I know that, Kennedy, but like what you're doing is worth something. And it was hard because I was seeing other girls who are female content creators, like sports, that were getting to go to, Super Bowl events, and they're going to all these different things and invited to stuff, and invited to like the Pro Bowl and all of those things. I wasn't getting asked those things, which, like, to be honest, I'm not consistent enough, and my platform isn't as big as theirs. So I mean, that makes sense, but it's still like, kind of stung a little. But it kind of was like, I felt like God being like, it's okay, Kennedy, I got something for you. So I got those opportunities and I was like, dang, this is crazy. In April, I get my apartment, which was amazing. That one's a little personal and we'll talk about it one day. But I got my apartment and I was blessed because I got all the amenities I wanted. It's in a nice and safe area where I wanted to be. And what else do I love about this apartment? It's nice and safe. It's gated. I like gated. Okay. It had all the amenities I wanted. Like, it had everything I wanted. Not only that, the craziest thing is, you gotta remember, I've been strapped for money. So I'm like, how am I gonna have everything? Somehow, this is the stuff that's just like weird. Somehow God worked it out. I have everything in my apartment that I need to live. Every single thing I needed, I got it. Only thing I bought when I moved in, I only bought 200. No, that's a lie. It was like 200 something at Target stuff I bought. That was like cleaning stuff, new towels, new sheets. No, I didn't get towels. My nana gave me all those, like new sheets and stuff like that. So, and trash can, things like that. And then I bought my mattress. My grandparents bought my bed. But so the only thing I had to get was a bed, my mattress, and then like all my little like household stuff, as in like cleaning things, new silverware, and like and things like that, because I had everything else. So I had everything I needed, and I'm like, dang, this is crazy. Cause like I didn't plan to move in. Like I talked about that on my moving vlog. I just applied and your girl ended up getting an apartment. I'm like, what the heck? We got an apartment? Like, what is going on? I don't have time to plan, budget, to save money, to buy nothing. Like, what are you talking about? So I got everything I needed, and that was amazing. Then comes another opportunity. I'm getting contacted by that company again who wants me to, for the NFL draft, they were having draft picks come in and host and, you know, do the Canes event thing again too. They wanted me to come cover it, and I got to go home. And this is when God like works magic. Remember how I told you guys, when I'm in Chicago, I'm getting worked all the time. I'd just been here for about a week or so, and like 1 or 2 weeks in Dallas working, and I didn't get called, which was crazy. I'm at the airport like, okay, if you don't, the flight left at like 2:45. So I was like, all right, if they don't call me at 2 o'clock, I'm on this flight. They didn't call your girl. God said, get on that flight, Kennedy, go chase some dreams. So I got to work that NFL draft event. So if you follow me on like TikTok and stuff like that, I've already posted that. That was amazing. It felt really good, once again, to be recognized. And, you know, it was crazy, you guys. I'm sorry. I just still can't get over it. That was probably one of my favorite things I've ever done. And it felt very it was. So I got to be there and cover CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Bijan Robinson. They all were there working the event. And of course, you guys all know those were top. That was number 1 and 2 in the draft. And Bijan, he went a little lower in first round. It's only because he's a running back. So running backs, they kind of go lower. You know, they're going to get the quarterbacks first, you know. So that was really great. It also was a really great, you know, draft, because I think the first 11 players that got drafted were all Black. All the quarterbacks who were drafted in the first round were all Black, which is amazing, because I'm not trying to get sportsy on y'all real quick, but it was amazing because quarterback has always been, you know, one of those things that like a coveted, you know, a white position. So it's hard enough to let Black boys even be quarterbacks. They want them to be something else. So now you got them. Now you have a draft where all of the quarterbacks that were Black, all the ones that were drafted were Black. That's crazy. So it was a really great experience, a great draft experience. Then weeks later, I was down bad again. I was real down bad. Got a business email. I got the sponsorship with Game Time, got paid for it. And I was like, what? So like when I tell you, like, content wise, if you don't know, sports content is my favorite. I went to school. I studied sports broadcasting. That's my love. That's my passion, right? And of course, I love talking about just my life, just, you know, normal girl stuff. That's why we have the podcast here. But that is my love and my passion. So I'm getting the Rihanna collab for the Super Bowl. I'm getting the Royals, the Super Bowl opportunity, the one that I did miss. The NFL draft, now Game Time. That is 5 events, 5 different opportunities, 5 different things that I've gotten from my sports content. So I was like, this is insane. Oh yeah, that was one every month. That's cute. Okay. So yeah, so I felt like things were moving. My laptop was acting up, but I said, it's okay. You know, we're going to keep going. We'll keep grinding. That's a new vlog I just uploaded actually to on YouTube when I got my laptop. And I got my Game Time sponsorship, money came in, and your girl went ahead and got her a new MacBook Pro, because my old one it was 2015 version. I got it when I first went to college, and she worked fine if I was just a normal person who just watches Netflix and YouTube. But trying to be a content creator on that MacBook Pro, she was like, I work like a dog day and night. Okay. That's how she was done for. So now I have it. We're recording on her. If you're watching on TV, on TV, what is this? If you're watching on any platform, look at her. She's space gray. She a bad chick. Like, don't play with her. Okay. Don't play with her. So this is actually her first time recording using her. I was like, oh my God, to log in. I'm like, why am I logging in? I'm like, girl, you ain't used her before. She a new baddie on the block. So you guys know I love my electronics. Like, they just mean so much to me. Like, we had a fire in one of our hotels. The fire alarm went off when I was in Charlotte. And girl, I came out with my backpack, and the other flight attendants, like, they were being funny. Like, Kennedy, you did not. What is the number 1 rule? Leave everything. Sorry, that's our chant for like evacuations. But it's like, you tell the passengers to leave everything or whatever. Like, you didn't leave everything. I said, excuse me, this backpack got about $2,000+ worth of stuff in it. The backpack alone is $120. You think I'm leaving all this in there? Got this Beats, this Mac, this laptop, all this stuff. A lot. If I add up all my electronics, all the gadgets that come with it, that bag was worth like $4,000. I said, please leave what? Girl, the bag was strapped on that bag, okay? And we was down the hall. But my electronics are very important to me. So I was very excited and very happy that I got it. And I told myself, you gotta put out content. And to know, I have posted 4 or 5 weeks in a row now on YouTube. Like, I'm telling y'all, I'm trying to be consistent. I got my YouTube down pat, got that flow going. My podcast flow is now happening. Even if I can't have a guest and y'all just have to listen to me talk about a topic in a week, y'all gonna get the content. It's gonna be me though, but you can get something, okay? I do have a lot of topics I want to talk about. And then the week that I got the laptop, before that, I really need to go to church. Like I said, I was really down bad. I was depressed again. There was a lot going on. Men betrayed me. We all know about that. We know how that goes. And I was down bad. I was like, damn. Goddamn. So, I was like, God, I need to go to church. I'm stressed because I'm figuring out like, how am I going to pay my bills? Like, that's one thing I'll say too, which is just so weird. It wasn't until people at work were asking me like, well, how do you have an apartment? I'm like, new higher pay. How can you afford it? And I couldn't really give them answers because like God just be working out me paying my bills, but I still be stressed. Like right now it's the 23rd. I'm still stressed about next month. I'm still worried. And I hate it because I have a job. I have a whole career. Why am I worried about paying my rent? Goddamn. So I am stressed about it. But I promise you, what the craziest thing happens when it's that time, God, like somehow the money be in the account, it get to where I need to go. I pay my shit and I'm here. Like it's crazy. So that's just God. I don't know. I really can't tell people how I pay my rent because I really don't know. He just figures it out. He be turning water to wine for real in my life. But anyways, so I was down bad. Back to originally what I was saying. I was down bad and I said, God, I need to go to church. Like, please don't. It's the weekend. So I know I'm getting called. It's a Sunday. So please don't let me get called. I went to church. It was Mother's Day. It was the best experience ever. I love my church, y'all. Like when I tell you I love my church, like, oh my God, it is the best place ever. I love that place so damn bad. I probably shouldn't cuss talking about church and God, but I love it. I feel so at peace. Like, oh, it is best. It's the best thing ever. So I went to church. It was funny. On my way home, they called me. I said, I could care less, girl. I was robbing. The flight was delayed and everything. I didn't get home till late. I said, I don't care. I went and got the Holy Spirit today. I'm feeling good. So I went to church. And then weeks later, I wanted to get baptized. And I was like, I gotta go to work. Girl, I didn't get called. I didn't get called the whole 6 days I worked. And your girl got to go to church and got baptized. I've already been baptized, first off. Let's get that straight. I've already claimed the Lord and Christ as my Savior. Jesus is the way, honey. You know, I want to live through him. Girl, we've already did that. I did that years ago when I was 6. Don't play with me. But I want to redo it to really redo my relationship with God. Like my relationship here. I felt like the first time I did it was because I knew that he was the way in the life. I want to be with him in afterlife. I believed in Jesus and like I wanted to live the way he wanted me to live. Like I just knew that like as a kid, you know, but life has happened in the past 20 years since I got baptized. It's y'all know, life been lifing on your girl. Shit, look at me now. Life had been life and I was like, I want to remake a commitment to you. I feel like as a kid I made a commitment to, you know, like the basic things like, you know, love my neighbor, not hurt people, you know, not was the commitments not kill and steal. You know, I made those commitments and to bring people to God, not because I talk about him, but how I act. You know, like that was the ones I made as a child. And like I believed in him. You know, that's what it was. But I feel like now it was like I want his help. I'm 26 now. I want to have a family. I want to get married. I want everything that God wants for me. I want it because I've had everything that the world has as of now, and I don't want that. They can take that shit back. Girl, why are you cussing talking about God? I'm sorry. So I already had, you know, that I've already seen what the world offers, and it's just not it. And I'm at a point where I'm like, I went through so much crap, so much crap, so many things. All I want is whatever you want from me. And so let me rededicate myself to you and start over, start fresh. So I did that. And it was a great experience. I haven't posted about that yet. That vlog isn't up. And I didn't post about it on TikTok. But yeah, getting baptized. It was amazing. So honestly, y'all, when it comes to that, and I've just gotten some blessings. And I talked about this in my YouTube video. I was like, when I got my laptop, I'm like, I feel like God's really like believing in me. And like, I feel like I'm on the right path. Last night, me and God had a really rough night. Girl, I was yelling at him and I was crying. He probably was like, girl. But Sarah Jakes Roberts said you were allowed to get mad at God and you were allowed to holler at him. So I did. And I told him about himself. Not about himself, but about how I felt. I was really hurt. I was, y'all. So I talked to him. I want to do a whole episode on like rosters and God and dating and Hinge and Tinder and all of that. Okay. But I do want to bring this up since we're talking about the things God's done for us so far since this year. I recently met this guy. I was talking to him. He seemed great. Girl, when I say he had me and all my friends and the close friends on Instagram full, y'all, he did. Janae sent me this prayer, and the prayer was like about when you first start talking to someone and you're dating in a situationship, whatever. I was like, okay, cool. So I used it. Your girl used it. And I want to tell you, right after I used it, this man started going crazy. I'm like, this is weird. So God really protected me in that instance. And so that's another blessing that he has brought to your girl for sure. We'll get into that later. We'll talk all about that later. Yeah, I just wanted to get back on here. I was like, I can't start the episode off talking about topics and 50-50 and it's if a man's friends is off limits. Do you date guys that are younger? I couldn't come out here talking about all that when it's like, girl, where the hell have you been? Where you been at? What's good? I was like, no, I gotta get on here and let them know where I've been, what I've been going through. And for the first time, my depression was not self-inflicted. It was not my fault. Okay, I thought I was getting my life together and I got depressed. So that's how things have been going. I'm still pushing through it. I'm gonna get it together. I am back to the press-on nails, which I thought I would never be there again. Well, guess what your girl is? We're back at the press-on nails. I can't even afford skincare. Like, oh my God. It's good though to be this way. So when I'm balling, I can listen back to my own podcast episode and be like, dang. Y'all be like, dang, you remember when you was broke? You was living in your apartment talking about how you weren't making no money? Now the Lord just kept turning water to wine so you could pay your bills. Do you remember that? I do remember that. I do. My parents sending me $60 so I can eat. Like, I remember that. I'm sitting here like, dang, I got 2 or 3 like laundry pods left. I see them on the floor here. They fell because my thing was shaking. I'm like, dang. I gotta figure out getting more laundry pads. I got one little container left of pasta. Like, y'all, it's okay though. The blessings are coming. And one of the things I feel is being who I am, talking, not about myself, but talking about things that are important to me. And all my content, I felt like, are my ways of doing the purpose that God wants for me, which is sharing my life, sharing my story. Some people probably be pissed off about this episode. I really don't give a crap. I really don't care. The truth is the truth. And that's just how it is. Okay. But I'm going to, oh my God, I don't like making commitments to people because I don't like breaking them. So I just don't make them. But okay, I'm going to do it anyway. So I'll make a commitment to y'all. I'm going to show up for you guys and for myself coming forward. Okay. I am. I've started with the YouTube. I'm getting the TikTok down of showing up. I'm going to show up for you guys. I promise. I love you guys so much. As always, be sure to follow the podcast at Casey Locker Room Talk on Instagram. Get the merch. It's always, we have some new merch coming too for football season. And let me know if there's ever anything you want to see from me. Always DM me. Let your girl know. I'm always open for suggestions and opportunities. Is that the right word? I don't know. But I love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Thank you. Bye, guys.